All right, here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. All right, let's jump right in.
I'd like to welcome everyone for joining today's workshop, which will be led by Judy ViaCava and Maggie Constantino from the Cancer Journey Institute. They're coaches there, and they've been leading this workshop for people after they have cancer, so they can move from a space of being in a panic mode to feeling like they're empowered and powerful. So without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to them, to Maggie and Judy to lead, and take it away.
Thank you so much. We're really, really happy to be here today. And this is an interactive program, so feel free to just talk with us, converse with us, and hopefully we give you some really, really good information that you can take home with you, as well as we want to have a little bit of fun. So if you want to put your video on, we'd really appreciate it because we do want to see all your beautiful faces. So let's start bringing those slides up if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, just let me know when. Should I move to the next one, Judy?
Yes, why don't you?
All right.
All right, so we're just going to give you a little bit of statistics. 1 in every 2 men and 1 in every 3 women will be diagnosed with some kind of cancer, not necessarily breast cancer, in their lifetime. And if we have any Canadians today, just some information there. It's 1 in 2 Canadians will be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their life. What's not written up here, which I just found yesterday, is the United States is 10th in the world for breast cancer, and breast cancer is the most prevalent of all the cancers in the United States. So that's just a little bit of statistics. Go ahead and switch the slide, please. So who are we? Who are your leaders today? Maggie and myself, and we also have another one of our coaches who's going to be assisting us monitoring the chat, and her name is Karen Millerwise. And we are all from the Cancer Journey Institute, and we train people all over the world. We're international, I believe, on almost every continent, and we're growing with cancer coaches that are highly skilled, highly trained, with lots and lots and lots of tools that we offer to people like you. And so we're really, really happy to be here today to be able to share some of these tools, like I said, that you'll be able to use right away. What the founders of the Cancer Journey Institute, Sherry Ann Tom and Carrie Lehman, began as well. Sherry Ann is a 5-time cancer survivor. So when she was going through, I think maybe her 3rd cancer, she enlisted Carrie Lehman to coach her through it. And they realized that the work that they were doing was helping to support the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental side of having cancer. So the doctors have a very important role. So your team of doctors and the medical personnel are there to heal your body. And what was missing was that emotional, mental, and spiritual support. And so that's how it came to be the Cancer Journey Institute. And we've grown. I've been with them now for going on 9 years as a coach. And I am a breast cancer survivor myself. I was diagnosed April 25th, 11 years ago. And as I was going through my own journey, I realized that I wanted to provide some kind of service to other people. I was a massage therapist for my entire career. I'm a social work, my education's in social work. And so I wanted to take healing and my skills as a social worker and be able to do something to support other people on their cancer journey. So that is how I came to the Cancer Journey Institute, and it changed my life. And hopefully we'll be able to offer you some tools that can help support you wherever you are now on your cancer journey. And I'd like to introduce Maggie. And if you tell us a little about yourself, Maggie.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. My name is Maggie Constantino. I live in Delaware, in southern Delaware. I had breast cancer. It's almost 7 years ago since my first appointment with the doctors. I had been a school teacher for many, many years, like 22 years, I think. And was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was a really, I would say a lot of that journey was full of a lot of fear and overwhelm. But then I had this sense of relief, like, okay, completed all the treatments, and it was a very complicated situation. And the doctor said, everything looks clear. And I left going, yes, like, it's like I found a new life. And then all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Because there was the fear of, could this come back? There was the disappointment, or maybe not disappointment, but those feelings of disconnection from the work that I had been doing. And I was searching for greater meaning to the journey that I had been on, and a deeper, more connected way of participating in my own life, which I found through the Cancer Journey Institute and through my, through my Qigong practice, which I do both of those. I am a Qigong instructor and a Cancer Journey coach, and they've both meant the world to me. And so I'm really glad to be here sharing what really brings me great passion and joy to share. So thank you.
Thank you. And Karen, if you want to just say a quick hello and introduce yourself also, please.
Hello, my name is Karen Miller-Wise. I live in Tempe, Arizona, and I too am a cancer survivor, a cancer journey coach. I'm a 27-year cervical cancer survivor, and I'm a cancer coach because I like to give back to people who were struggling as I did as well. So thank you, Judy. So nice to be here with all of you.
Thanks for helping us today.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's just jump right in with our first. Well, actually, let me just ask you this question. If you want to all put it in the chat room, that would be great. What brings you here today? And then Karen, if you want to just read out some of the things that people are chatting about, please.
My glasses on. Yeah, thank you. We have Angela here from Philadelphia area. And we have Amy Norman from the Kansas City, home of the Super Bowl champions. Thanks for being here. Laurel from outside Park City, Utah. Beautiful. Do you have snow there right now, Laurel? Oh, we can't hear you.
So much snow. It's wild.
Oh, it's so beautiful in Park City. Yes. And then we have, how do you say your name? Lise?
It's Lise.
Lise, okay. Thank you, Lise, from Rhode Island. She said, thank you. We'll turn your video on when you get home. Thank you. Amy Norman, she's unsure to move on, having some fear about her health. Well, you're in the right place. We're glad you're here. And Angela says a sense of connection to the other survivors is what she's here for. And Jillian says, I want more than survive. I want to do this and believe that you need to move from a panic mode to taking control and being the author of your own story, for sure. And that's what we're going to talk today about, is how to take control and move from that panic place to a feeling of being powerful. And we're going to give you some tools to do that.
Yes, and we all are thrivers. We're here today. We're thriving today.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all for putting that into our chat. And what you're going to get out of today's session, it's an interactive workshop, again, to help to move you from that sense of panic into a sense that you do have more power than you believe you have at this time. We're going to tell you an overview of the Cancer Journey Institute coaching model, which we call SLAMS. It's the foundation of our program. We're going to give you 4 tools from the SLAMS model and a couple roadmaps so that you have a direction of where you're going. And we're going to give you a path forward so that you can keep up this level of momentum and support as you move back into the rest of your life. And if you can switch.
All right. And maybe we should just remind everybody that that what we talk about, the ideas and concepts that we share are fine to talk about with others, but we just ask that we keep each other's stories and personal things about each other confidential so that we can create a really safe space for each other to share. And that if you need to take a break during this, go right ahead and take that break, take care of whatever you need to.
Yeah. And if you wouldn't mind, if you agree to the confidentiality, just raise your hand so that we all feel safe here. Thank you so much. All right, so let's just jump right in. And so we can explain to you what the SLAMS model is. So I consider the SLAMS model to be like the toolbox filled with all the tools that we at the Cancer Journey Institute offer to our clients. And we're going to be sharing 4 of those tools. So you now have your own toolbox that you can start. And the SLAMS model is an acronym, and you can see it stands for stop, locate, activate, make it real, and select. So stop is, what is the panic? And it literally means stop. When you feel like your head is swirling with all kinds of fear stories from things that may have happened in the past, or panic about what may happen in the future, the way to stop that is to get present with yourself in the moment. Then locate are the tools that we're going to offer you today, which is, well, where are you? We're going to give you a map today. We have a number of maps to help you to know where you are and where you're going. It's kind of like if you're in a shopping mall and you're at the directory because you want to find a store and you've never been there before. Knowing where you're going gives you a sense of direction. The next is activate. Who are you? And what is it you want? What's that vision that you have for yourself? Because no matter what your circumstances, no matter your prognosis, you are you, because cancer doesn't define you. You still have hopes and dreams, and you still have your life. And then make it real is bringing that experience to you today, because there's no reason that you need to hold out for another time in your life. You can still have hopes and dreams for today. And select is making choices, because there's power in choice. All right, and what comes next is that first tool that we said we were going to give you, which is how to become present. And Maggie is going to explain this, and then we're all going to jump in and check in.
Yes, thank you, Judy. Thank you. This is one of my favorite tools. I've been using this tool for a few years now since I've learned it. And I have to say that in recent times, I've really felt the support of this tool more deeply than I had in the past for whatever reason. But anyway, this tool is called PESH. It is one of our stop tools. We often find, especially on a cancer journey, that there are many times where we are swirling or in a panic and we're just overwhelmed. We're not sure what to do. We're not sure what we need. People may even be asking us what we need and we just don't know. There's so many times that we're pulled in many directions. We're thinking about the past, the future, the worries. And so what we do is we find that our power, that we step into our power when we're in the present moment, and the panic takes us out of the present moment. So we use PESH to kind of stop that panic and to really connect with the present moment and to become more grounded in the present. And so how we use this tool called PESH is we check in with ourselves. And we check in with ourselves in this moment, not for the day, not for the week, not for the month. It's just this moment where we're checking in with ourselves. So how we do that is we take a moment to check in with ourselves physically, and then emotionally. Are we in touch with our emotions? Do we have those constricting emotions, or do we have those lighter, more expansive feeling emotions? Where are we with our emotions? Our spirit we think of as either our own sense of our own spirit, or that power beyond ourselves. Some people might look at it as their connection with God, or you can look at it as your connection with your own spirit. And then the H stands for hope, and that is our sense that there's something greater than what's happening here. There's some anticipation, a sense of expectation, that something positive is going to happen, that there's brighter times ahead. And that's how we look at hope. And then we also look at a word for this moment, just one word to describe ourselves for this moment. And so how we use the tool then is when we look at physical, we give ourselves a number. For instance, today I have a cold that's bothering me a little bit. So I might say a 7 or an 8 today instead of a 10. If you are feeling a real lack of energy, can't get your normal routine done, that would be, in the lower numbers. If you're feeling your energetic best, that's a higher number. So that's how the scale works. So you'll use the numbers 0 through 10 for each of those letters: P for physical, E for emotional, S for spiritual, H for hope. And so what we'd like to do is just model that for you. So I'm wondering if I could ask Judy to model that.
Sure,
to do a PESH
absolutely.
check-in.
I would love to.
Yeah, and then we can share in the chat.
I think we could do it because we have a smaller group. So why don't we just all do that for each other today? All right, so let's see, my check-in today. Physically, I'm a 9.5. Emotionally, 10. Spiritually, I'm a 9. My hope is a 10. And my word is sharing.
Thank you. And Judy, I took the screen off so that we could see each other. But if anybody needs the words, I can paste them into the chat. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Karen, would you like to go next?
Hope you're on mute.
There we go. Thank you. Physically, I am a 9. Emotionally, I am a 10. Spiritually, I am an 8. And hope, I am a 10. And my word is open and loving. 2 words.
Yes. Thank you. Jillian, would you like to PESH next?
You're on mute, honey.
It's physical, emotional, spiritual, and what is the last
Hope.
one? Hope. Okay.
Hope. Yeah.
Physically, I'm a 7. Emotionally, I'm a 9. Spiritually, I would say I'm a 9. And with hope, I'm at a 10. And my word, what's coming to me is resilient.
Resilient, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I did want to say one more thing about PESH that is really worth saying here, is that there's no judgment. I remember the first few times I did this in a group, and I was going to say a 5 for something, and I thought, oh, I can't say a 5. Everybody else is 9s, But really, it's no judgment. It's right where you are in this moment because we're fluid and we can change at any
Yeah.
time, right?
And it's really a way
And
for
it's
you
real.
just to get present, just to
Yeah.
connect with yourself.
Yep. Thank you. Amy, would you like to Pesh next?
Let's see. I think physically I'm probably at a 6. Emotionally, probably a 6. Spiritually, probably a 3. Oh, maybe again at like 5 or 6. What was the word? What's the word?
Just a word that describes you in this moment.
Oh, just tired.
Mm-hmm. Well, welcome. Welcome. Anne, would you like to Pesh next?
Physically, I'd say a 9. Emotionally, an 8. Spiritually, maybe a 5. Hope, 8. And I feel kind of calm today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Laurel.
Yeah, I think I was that person who's like, wow, everyone's a 9. I'm 8. I don't feel that. I think physically probably a 7 or 8. Emotionally, I would probably say a 5. Spiritually, I've been feeling less spiritual and hopeful lately, so probably a 4 for spiritual and probably a 4 to 5, 4 for hope. Word, tired, but I'm also excited because I'm going to Vegas this weekend. Jillian made up for a hockey tournament for my son. So I'm excited to have some fun.
Good for you.
So we leave tomorrow. So I've been getting ready for that. So that's excitement right now.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Angela.
I didn't realize there's 2 of us. And we're both Angela H. I'm the one from Philly.
Okay, Angela H. Sorry, I didn't realize either.
Angela H.
Oh, 2 H's. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I would say physically a 7, emotional 10, spiritual 10. I kind of think of those as very similar for me. Hope a 9, and my word is blessed. I have a new granddaughter that came in January. So
oh,
Congratulations.
congratulations. Wonderful.
Angela Hayes.
Okay, so I think physically a 7, emotionally right about there a 7, spiritually a 5, hope a 9, and I think my word right now is just searching, trying to figure out some things in my life.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Lise, I'm not sure if that's how you say your name.
Yes, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, so physically, I think a 9. Emotionally, probably a 6. Spiritually, a 6, I think, and hope an 8. And I think my word, probably cautiously optimistic.
All right. And Diane.
Hi, everyone. I have a question first to begin with. How is this tool then to be used, let's say, in midst of panic, crisis, panic attack? Because I can't quite figure that out. I can see using it in a calm space like we are right now, but it's a means to sort of slow down, check in, ground. Is that it?
Yes, it is. I can share how I've been using it recently. We've had a death in the family, a close family member, and so we've been going through this immense grieving process, all in our different phases and stages. And there'd be days where I didn't know what I felt really off and not sure what I was feeling, and I didn't know what I wanted, and I couldn't make decisions. And I would go through this periodically over this time. And I started using this very more regularly. I used to use it, from time to time during the day, maybe once a day, maybe once a week. But I started really leaning into this to know, okay, where am I? Emotionally, I'm feeling really tight. So, okay. So when I realize I'm feeling tight, what do I need? So there's like another piece to that, I guess. You can take it a step further and say, what do I need? But it really is to check in with myself to see why I'm feeling this. It's like a body agitation that I'd be feeling,
Right.
And it gives me a clue where to look. Is it physical? Do I need food? Is it emotional? Do I need love and kindness? Spiritual? Do I need to reconnect with what's important to me? Hope? Is it some time to spend in hopefulness, or to at least honor where I am with hope and despair.
Right.
Okay.
And
So de-escalation kind of from a panic state to going, actually, emotionally might be way down, but I still have hope, which might temper it, that sort of thing. So a way to self-talk that isn't just spiraling. Is that
right,
You can-
right.
Yes, you
Because
can use it that way.
the spiral is self-talk, right? It's all in going on in your head, and you can feel the swirl of the spiral. And oftentimes that spiral is a voice that's telling you stuff that happened either in the past and there's worry there, or stuff that's going to happen in the future and there's panic there. And we don't have control over anything that happened before and no control over the future. So this is a way to connect with yourself in this moment, to remind yourself that here you're okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Okay, keep going, Maggie.
Yeah, Diane, would you like to pesh?
Oh, I'll pass at this point.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, you can always put it in the chat if you decide you want to visit that later. Okay, thank you.
And Leanne?
Yeah, and thank you for your patience. I was driving from an appointment to begin, so
No worries.
good to be here fully present. So physically, I would say 10. Emotionally, a 9. Spiritually, 8. Hope, 8. And now that I'm done rushing to get home, I would say my word is calm.
Well, welcome. And I think that's everybody. I didn't pesh, so I'll pesh. Physically, I'm going to say 7.8. Emotionally, 8. Spiritually, 9.5. And my hope is a 10. And my word is grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Before we go on, I guess I was just wondering what that was like for you to check in with yourself. If anyone would like to unmute and share, if you do want to, and you don't have to, but if you'd like to share what that was like, go ahead.
I think it was a good reflection to be able to point in time, just listen. Yeah. And
thank you.
For me, I've been using this for years. This is Karen, and it gives me a way to just center with myself and leave what's behind the door before this meeting started, just at the doorstep, to be present here with myself and with all of you. It's become a habit to just check in and put the world on pause to be with myself.
I've also been doing this for a number of years. I didn't know it was called PESH, but something very similar. And it's something that I've actually integrated as a parent with my kids because they can easily spiral or project when they're feeling something. And so I've found this to be a really good parenting tool.
Yeah, it's wonderful for them growing up. It'll just become who they are.
Yeah.
as adults to check in with themselves and get present, because again, that gives you a sense of control.
Yeah, and the breathing part of it is something that I always try to integrate into, is just deep box breathing.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. Okay. Should we move on to
move
our
on.
roadmap? Yeah, we
Yes.
have we have another tool that we use. Let me just share the screen. So we have a tool that we use called the Cancer Journey Roadmap. This map is based on Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey, and the thing about this map is that, well, first of all, it's a locate tool, so it helps us to find where we are, but it also helps us to see where we could go, where we are going, and it helps us to see, you know, where we've been as well, so we can look back, see where we were, where we are now, and where we are headed. Okay, and it's just like if you're at the mall, and I think Judy used this analogy earlier, you know, a map in the mall. I'm not sure what's happening, what's going on, you know, in a cancer journey, there could be just so much information coming at you quickly, and so many emotions that it can be easy to kind of get lost on that journey, even a survivor's journey. And so when we have a tool like this map, we can see where we are, where we're going, but also what we need in order to get to the next place that we're going. Let's see if there's anything else that I wanted to share before we explain the map. You know, the other thing is that the journey varies from person to person. You might have had, you know, relatively easy treatment time. Somebody else might have a really challenging treatment time. And the length of time we spend in any one of these stages really varies from person to person. And we can go back and forth on this map too. We can come in and out of different stages. Yeah. But we did find, I guess Sherry Ann and Carrie have found that anyone experiencing cancer goes through all of these stages.
Right. And it is a life journey, because
Yes.
this, you could look at any kind of point in your life where you're kind of called into a situation, whether you're asking for it or not. Like, none of us asked for cancer, but here we are anyway. And so we're always on a journey. So here it looks like there's a beginning and an end, but we're always called to another journey.
Yes. And you know, I'm so glad you brought that up, Judy, because the other thing that I find too is we might be on multiple journeys, right, at the same time. So so how it works is, you know, we're things are going along. We're in the innocent stage. This is before you know that you have cancer. This is where life is just kind of going along as usual, day-to-day life. You may notice something doesn't feel right, but you haven't seen a doctor yet. Maybe you're calling to make an appointment, but you're not expecting anything like cancer to come into your life. And so, Judy, do you want to share?
Yeah. So right. So Maggie is going to explain the roadmap, and I'm going to give you my story, so that you have an idea of how this actually works. So my innocent story before I was diagnosed was I was just separated from my husband. We hadn't been getting along for a long time. I have 2 adult children. They were both out of the house. I'm working as a massage therapist. We had separated, so I moved into this brand new house, kind of my dreams, and I was all excited about that. And start just kind of settling into this new life of mine as a single woman, and you know, continuing to work and just living my life.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you get the call. The call is typically the diagnosis, when you actually hear the words, you have cancer. And so I think of it in 2 ways. The call to a journey, and then the literal call of you've got cancer, you know, like when the doctor says that to you, or you read the report, something like that. Go ahead, Judy.
It's, for me, I felt like I just crossed over a threshold into a world that I just couldn't even imagine. I had gone for a routine mammogram, and I thought it was just going to be a normal day. I was meeting a girlfriend there because she was going also. We made our appointments together, and then we were planning to go to lunch and just have a whole day. But instead, they did find something, and my girlfriend ended up just going home, and I had to stay after for further tests. And so for me, it was like I said, crossing over a threshold, and it just wasn't making sense. It was very surreal to me.
Yeah. And then I would imagine like the initiation for you happened really quickly. Initiation is the next stage. And that's where it's official. You have you've crossed into the cancer journey.
Mm-hmm. And there's a frenzy in that. It's all those doctor's appointments, lab tests. I felt like, you know, I didn't even take aspirin. I was, you know, just using natural products to help myself if I needed something. But now I'm in this medical world with all kinds of language that I didn't understand, and they're asking me to make decisions about something that I didn't even know what they were talking about. And it was just this frenzy in my head. My schedule was just, I was having to cancel my work because now I had to go to a doctor that my other doctor told me I had to go to. And there was so much fear around that. Fear of the unknown, fear of what's happening. You know, one minute I'm living my life, and now all of a sudden it's changed.
Yeah. And so I like how you explained how you went through that, Judy, because when we look at the map, like there's why this is a really steep decline, because the pace that you talked about, everything is fast, unknown, and things that you hadn't planned on. Nothing is going as planned. And it brings you, because we don't have time to really digest everything, it brings us right into the pit. And that is, we call it the lowest part of the journey. And I love when the founder of Cancer Journey Institute about the pit, because she says it's her favorite part. And people always laugh and say, why is that? But I appreciate why she says this. It's the place where we have the potential for the most growth. So things are really swirling. You know, we may be kind of going back and forth a little. We may lose some ground. We may have to do different treatments than were thought out. And we're just feeling really low and not really coming at a low place.
And it's also, oh, go ahead, finish up.
I would say it's also a place where we have the chance to question limiting beliefs. We have the chance, an opportunity to acknowledge our feelings. And we also have the chance to surrender something. Like, what is it that's not really working for me now? What is it that I need?
Right. And that's where transformation begins. Because when you can release what no longer serves you, you're clearing space for what is it that I do want for myself? What is it? Who am I and what do I need? And so for me, the pit, it's kind of where things got quiet, because the initiation, there's such a frenzy of everything. And now you're kind of left with yourself and your thoughts and your feelings. And I felt like I can handle this myself. I don't need your help. I warriored up, and I'm fine. I don't need you. Well, what I learned in the pit was, yeah, I do need people. I do need to have support here. I do need those around me who I love. I need them. I also need to find my voice, which is was always hard for me in my marriage. And so I found my voice for the first time in many, many years to be able to express what it is that I need from other people. And when I found that about myself, I started feeling whole. I started feeling more powerful because I got rid of those limiting beliefs, which opened up this new way of thinking about things.
Beautifully said. I love how you said that it got real quiet and you had time to really be with yourself. And I feel like, Judy, that allies really kind of came into what you were talking about. Allies are the things, the hobbies, thing, any person that helps you out of the pit. Judy talked about warrioring up, and oftentimes we think about a warrior as someone that does their own. And it sounds like she was able to hear that voice in herself and then reflect and ask for what she needed. And that asking piece, asking for what she needed, that's like an ally. And so we allies as we come out of the pit. And what we find, you could hear in Judy's story, becoming her own best.
Right. I did. I had to be my own best ally. And what happened there, when I found my voice, my relationship with my soon-to-be ex-husband actually got better because I was able to express what I needed and he heard me. He became kind of my rock because I started to ask him for help. And to this day, we're still friends. We're divorced now, but we are still friends. And my other allies, as I started to realize that I don't need to always be thinking about other people first, that I do matter, that what I need is just as important, if not more important, than putting myself last and putting other people before me. So I discovered dragon boating because I wanted to do something that was all mine. I wanted it to be physical. I wanted it to be outdoors, and I wanted it to be with like-minded people. So a friend of mine said, well, have you ever thought about dragon boating? There's a breast cancer survivor dragon boat team not far from you. And I joined the following year, and I've been on the team ever since. So that became an ally, still is an ally. Other allies, I got back into horses, which was a childhood passion that I let go when I was to other people's, the mom of these two other busy people. And I needed something that was all mine. And I created these stories in my head about who I thought I had to be. I had to, I played roles. I played the role of being a wife. I played the role of being a mother, but I wasn't being with me. And so that became my number one ally.
Wow, powerful. And so you can see why that need to this breakthrough, and breakthrough is when things are changing. Who you are in this life, you have a sense that there is a new you that you are emerging into. And so I could hear that in your story, Judy.
Right. And the breakthrough for me was that discovery that I am no longer that same person. That I didn't quite know who I was yet or what was happening, but I knew there was something out there. I had a vision for this new life that I was creating for myself. And it was exciting. I was letting go of the old stories that held me in the pit. When I let all those go, it was like, oh, I know what I want. I want to find my purpose. I want to know myself better. And I started to re-enter out of the pit and my previous life.
And I heard you say, I want to know myself better. Wow. So, like, I'm just seeing, because when you're going through it, it's hard to, we have perspective now because we can look back on what we go through. But this idea of, I want to know myself better, that is the breakthrough that leads to transformation. So, transformation is when we really step into and we can really claim that new self. When we see more of ourselves, like a truer version of ourselves, a new self. And during transformation, there is some celebration and acknowledging of that new self. And there's also some grieving and letting go of the old. But overall, it's a place of I think Judy used the word wholeness at some point in her story. And there's also that lightness, feeling more lightness.
Yeah. I consider my transformation a reclaiming of myself. Because as a child, it's very easy to dream and kind of have an idea of what we want for ourselves, but then life kind of takes hold. And we start living our busy lives. And I reclaimed some of that childlike dreaming of, well, who do I want to be and what do I want for my life? And I will say I am deeply in transformation, because when I look back to innocence, back to my life 11 years ago, before I was diagnosed with cancer, and that busy life that I was leading for what society told me I should be doing and how I should be. And now it's like, you know what? I'm going to be who I want to be for me. And I am doing my life's purpose. I am living my purpose. I'm a cancer journey coach, which that gives so much meaning to my life. I'm surrounded by amazing people because I don't have time for people who bring me down. Anything that brings down my energy is not supporting me, and I just can't give time to that anymore. And so I don't want to go back to innocence. I don't want to go back to who I was before cancer. So it's hard for people who are in it right now to understand that there is a gift that comes out of having cancer, but it is there if you're willing to look. Karen, what's up?
Just in the chat, Diane is wondering if there are any other stage 4s here in the group. Our upper right-hand part of this curve needs to be different. Can you address that?
You broke up a little bit. Could you please repeat that?
Sure. I'm reading the chat. Diane has a question. She says that she's wondering if there are any other stage 4 people here today. Okay. And the fact that the upper right-hand part of this curve needs to be different for them, and to address that.
Okay. So are there any other stage 4 people? If you want to raise your hand, if you're comfortable doing that. Okay, so we have Diane and Jillian. Jillian, would you like to share anything that you got from this with Diane? Your thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there was lots while you were talking that I was thinking about. So I'm in my 7th year of living with metastatic breast cancer. I was originally diagnosed when I was newly pregnant with my son, who was soon to be 10. And I had just, I was thinking about the innocent phase of that diagram. And my husband and I, 6 months prior, lost a baby that I was carrying in my 2nd trimester. So I thought that was like the worst thing in the world. And it was pretty bad for sure. And so for me, it was very much, I had to rush into all sorts of things because I was newly pregnant. My breast cancer is estrogen, progesterone positive, HER2 negative. So carrying a baby was definitely not the greatest thing to be happening to my body at the time of the diagnosis of cancer. But I went through fertility treatments, and so it was probably like putting a flame to an ember, and it just ignited. So it all happened very quickly for me. And I would say because I was pregnant at the time, I held on to that and staying healthy in all, mind, body, and spirit, because I wanted the best for my baby growing inside of my body. And really the pit was after he was born, and I really, I was done all of my treatments and surgeries and so forth. I could relate a lot to what Judy was describing, because after it came back as metastatic, it really kind of rocked my world. And I was in a pretty dark place for a while. And I say a while, I mean, for me, it was a while. It was about a month of just, I was cut off. Like I could not talk to anybody. I could not make a decision. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I felt numb almost. It was a bizarre place for me to be in. But I'm grateful that that phase lasted for a very short period of time. And then I was able to make a decision about how I wanted my life to be. And so
Jillian, can I just pause you for one moment? Because I want to kind of catch where you were in the pit before you move on. So you're in the pit. Did you have any consciousness of anything you needed to let go of, or things that weren't supporting you anymore?
Yeah. I was in a very toxic work environment at the time. And I knew, I was a triathlete. I was very into climbing and outdoor sports and hiking, but I was also in a very toxic work environment that I knew I needed to get out of for quite a while. And so that was immediately the first thing I needed to let go of, so that I could create more space for things in my life, people, activities, even just time for just doing nothing but thinking, finding that quiet. I needed to let go of that workspace. And also I wanted to create more meaning, where I could feel like I was directly impacting others with something that I felt like I could offer. And so I leaned into those things and started to implement a whole bunch of things into my life that Judy spoke of. And so I could relate to you on many, many levels.
And so where would you say you are now on your journey?
I think I'm in a really good place. Probably I've been through that transformative phase for a number of years now. Like you, I think about how I spend my time. I think time is the most valuable thing we can give ourselves and to give others, is that time, and that time to me is quality. And so, yeah, I did do an inventory of people in my life, whether it's family members or friends, and I just, or who I thought were friends, and I just I did a little house cleaning, I guess that would be. And so, yeah, my time that I do share with others is much more authentic, I think is the word.
And so that's exactly what I'm hearing. The lesson that you learned in the pit was time is so valuable. Why spend it on things that aren't supporting me? And all of the allies that you have, your family and your friends, and this purpose that you discovered while you were in the pit, to become your allies, to pull you and support you through.
Yeah.
Thank you. Diane, would you like to comment or say anything about that?
Yeah, I'm only 14 months into this journey from diagnosis, but stage 4 and pretty serious with 25 brain mets. So it's up there with, lungs and everything else.
Right.
So the learning curve for me, one is letting go of work, and I'm retiring in May, but I haven't been at work for over a year. And I'm okay with that. I'm 61, almost 62, and I've worked for 32 years, and I'm adjusting to that not being my identity, but that's a big learning curve for me, just like you were saying, to know yourself better. Who am I without my work? I think a lot of us could relate to that. So coming up from the pit, and I've been in the pit a long time, but found complementary resources like mindfulness and meditation and things like that. That is helping a lot.
They've
and
become your allies.
Therapy and allies. I'm in Caring Bridge, if you are familiar with that. So I have, about 100 people who are really encouraging me, and I write about every 6 weeks. So I feel like I'm on that upswing. I'm in transformation, definitely, who I am and what I enjoy, and trying to find that joy. But it's not easy because it is tinged with the finality of this disease. And so that's where I was asking about, the re-entry I don't see happening. Transformation into what, death, I don't know. So staying present and not thinking too much about the future is the biggest challenge for me, but the most important thing to do.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. Because it's a journey. You still are on a journey with stage 4, not knowing the outcome, because we don't, but spending time in the worry about what may or may not happen keeps you from all of those beautiful things that you do have in this present moment. So trying to remind yourself to stay present. And there are many, many tools that we're sharing 4 with you today. But it's really about discovery, self-discovery. And what do I want now? So thank you.
I appreciate your compassion that you have for yourself, Diane, through this, because I can hear that compassion. The letting go of work is it's big a deal when you've been doing something for that long, and it is a process. All of it is one step at a time, and that present moment that Judy was talking about helps us to take those steps.
Anything else? Anybody else want to share anything about their own journey?
Laurel's written something in the chat. Do you want to talk, Laurel, about what you wrote in the chat? Or I can just read it if you like.
Sure, yeah, I think it was just something, Judy, you had said, being able to let go and sort of to move beyond the pit. For me, I just feel like I've, just with work, I have a great job and work environment, family, kids. It's like, okay, you're through treatment, you're done, you're past this. Just go back to like living exactly how you were. And I feel like that's the expectation of friends and family. And they're like, oh, you look so great. You're back doing everything you were doing, running your kids to all their activity, all of this stuff. And like an expectation, even from my husband, like, oh, you're fine now. Just go back to how it was. And so that helps me sort of deal with some of the panic and the emotional effects of cancer. But at the same time, I'm sort of like, I would just like a break and be able some help, or to sort of get, be acknowledged that I am now, living with cancer. And I was very blessed. I was caught at stage 0. I didn't have to do radiation or chemo, but it was recommended to have a mastectomy because of the nature. It was an aggressive form of cancer, and my mom passed away from breast cancer, so family history. So that was always looming, but you sort of hope it's not going to happen to you, and then it happens. So I think sometimes I do on the PESH scale, it's sort of like you should just be getting back to normal and doing what you were doing. You're healthy again, even though you've got, the implant, which you all who have them probably know, it's just a continuous reminder, like 24/7 of living with it and scarring and feeling it. But yet I feel like I haven't been able to sort of just embrace some of the emotional effects that come from breast cancer and the anxiety and everything that comes, with, I'm still in my 2 years, so I'm having to go to the doctor every 4 months, the cancer doctor, the plastic surgeon. So it's sort of like, I feel like I need to be able to move beyond that to get, I think, to that far right stage, but just not being able to. And sort of, I've been struggling sort of how to work through that and how to get the support from friends and family. Some of them you probably all know, like sometimes they don't want to hear about it, right?
Well, and I understand what you're saying, because as soon as we're better in the minds of other people, it's like, well, you look fine, so you should be fine. And everybody starts to move away. All the support people go back to their lives, and they're not visiting and calling. And that leaves us feeling kind of like, where did everybody go? I'm not fine. I don't feel fine. I still feel in my body. I have this foreign object in my body. That doesn't feel fine. And then the other thing about what you said, Laurel, is I'm almost hearing like, yeah, society says I should be getting back to my life, but I'm hearing kind of a longing. Like there's something else out there for me. I don't know what it is. I can't quite put my finger on it, but there's something more.
I think that's it. Exactly. I wouldn't like to be getting just back into the same routine, right? Back to work and just it's doing more. And I've gotten involved, with some organizations to help, with some breast cancer. I'm helping out with the local Utah one to just help give and contribute. And maybe it's just wanting to help people more now and be supportive and supported. And it is a longing.
And
So
that's,
like, what is
that's
it?
yes. It's what comes from that feeling in the pit. That's what I said. Like I felt like there was a gift there. And the gift there for me, which I'm hearing for you, Laurel, is, well, who am I now? I know I've changed. There's something else there. But what is that? And that's the beauty of breakthrough, is it's not the time to jump into something. It's kind of like, this is the time to let things marinate. And when you're open to letting things just start to appear and not force anything, but just let it happen, to see what shows up.
I think that's really good. I think that'll probably help somebody, because I think I am waiting, right? Like I think I need to marinate and just let it be, right? Not trying to force my way out of it.
Right.
And getting comfortable with that.
Yes. And if you're a journal writer, you can write things down as they show up, or just start imagining like, oh, that sounds really good. That sounds like something I want to do. Oh, maybe I want to volunteer someplace. Maybe I want a whole career change. Maybe I want to implode and start over. And it's all fine. It's your life to design however you want. And no matter where you are in this journey, if you're metastatic and your prognosis is telling you something, you still have your dreams. There's still things to do. And you can still have that.
I was just thinking about something you were saying, Laurel. And one of the things that was really clear to me, maybe not so much like the first time around when I went into remission and stage 3 cancer, but when it came back as metastatic and I really started doing this soul journey for myself, I really realized that in my life, I didn't have clear boundaries with those around me. So whether it was in workplace or within my intimate relationships or my family relationships or my friendships, I said yes to everything. And I carried too much, and at the expense of my own feelings and needs. And so it's been interesting to me as this is like a dedicated, I believe, lifelong process of revisiting your boundaries and kind of And it doesn't have to be a negative thing, right? It's just being clear to, I think Brene Brown once said, clear is kind, to be unclear is unkind. I love that. And it's so simple. But I noticed that that's, you know, when people wanted me to go back to the old way, the old Jillian, let's just go back. I was like, wait, I don't want to go back. That's not what I want to do. And I gave myself permission to be okay with that. And I saw some people around me get very uncomfortable with healthy boundaries that I was putting into place because they just wanted me to go back to doing everything or just saying okay to everything. And so for me, that was like, it was a real breakthrough. It was a real transformative thing that allowed me to then be able to build on that, to do more. And I just wanted to share that as something that sort of sparked for me with what you had said.
Yeah. And everything that you said is just so true. It's almost like the sun is starting to appear from the clouds. And it's like, wow, I can see myself with clarity now. Maybe for the first time ever, that I don't need to accept the things that don't work for me. Right. And setting boundaries is so important. So I love that you said that. Thank you so much, Jillian. All right. Anything else? Yeah, Karen, what's up?
I was just going to say that transformation for me was after having cancer. It was though I didn't realize it before cancer that I was just floating through life and not paying attention. And after coming out the other end, I suddenly, like you said, put focus on the important things in my life, and setting boundaries became much easier because I was very clear about only spending time in relationships that were meaningful and worthwhile, and not spending time in relationships that didn't serve me and my family and my needs. And so one of the gifts of many was the ability to set boundaries quickly and easily, comfortably.
Yeah,
and
thank you. Thank you so much. And we realize that we have more control over things in our lives than we may have thought before. And we're going to do another exercise now that we call can and cannot. So does everybody have paper and a pen or something to write with? Yeah, just pull a piece of paper out of your notebook if that's what you're using. And grab your pen, because we're going to do this exercise. It's a very simple exercise, but one that I use over and over with my clients, and also I use it in my daily life oftentimes when I'm feeling like I have no control over anything. So I want you to take that piece of paper and I want you to make 2 columns. So put a line down the middle, and on one side of it, I want you to write I can as the heading. On the other side, I want you to write I can't as the heading. And when you finish doing that, I want you to start listing all the things you can control in your life under the I can side, and all the things you have no control over on the I cannot side. So I can control the food that I eat. I can control daily exercise. I can control the words that come out of my mouth. What I can't control is the weather. I can't control traffic. I can't control my doctor's, what happens at my doctor visit. So just write your list. We're going to give you, I don't know, like a minute or so. Just jot down whatever you can in this moment. You can always add to it later. And then when you're finished, just look up so I know you're done. Okay, and just finish up whatever it is you're writing now. Finish that up. And then what I want you to do is take that paper right down the middle, rip it out I hope if it's in your book, but I want you to rip your paper in half so that you have the two columns. And if you don't want to rip the paper out of your notebook, you can just imagine your list. So in my left hand, I have all the things I have no control over. In my right hand, I have my list of all the things I do have control over. I want you to just read back over your list of the things you do not have control over. You should all have that piece of paper in your left hand at this point. Hold it up so I can see. Take that piece of paper, crumple it up. And when I count to 3, I want you to throw it over your shoulder. 1, 2, 3. Why waste energy on things we have no control over? It takes us away from the moment. It takes us away from all the things that we do have control over, all the joy we have in our lives when we ruminate on the things we can't control anyway. So what shows up there? What do you think about that exercise?
I think it tells me that there's a lot of things I can control. Personally.
That's right. When you get rid of all the clutter of the things you can't control, now you've cleared space for the things you do have control over. So what else?
And I think it's reassuring to say, I don't have control, so get rid of it. Don't even spend any time on it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think I've been hurt by some people, and I somehow think I can control the way that they're treating me. And so I need to let that go because I can't control the things they do, the way they react. What I can control is, do I spend time with them and do I allow them in my life?
Beautiful example. Because when you realize what you don't have control over, it points you in the direction of what you do have control over, which is yourself and the choices you make. So thank you. And this is a tool that you could use anytime you feel like, oh, I don't have control over that. I'm just going to let it go. And you can just do this and know what it is that you're doing. And I do that sometimes with my clients where we're talking and I'm like, I don't even have to say it. Once they know what it is I'm doing, then it's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm trying to control the uncontrollable. Throw it away.
That's a great segue, Judy, for dreaming, because we get in touch with what we can't control, but now we can also get in alignment with our sense of hope. We all had varying amounts of hope today when we joined this call, when we initially checked in. And so one of the easiest ways or quickest ways to really get in touch with, realigned with a sense of hope, is to dream. And many of us reflected, whether you said it out loud or maybe you were just thinking it, but many of us, when we learned about innocence, realized we were going through the motions of life. And Laurel, you had such beautiful sharing about, I want to kind of get to know this person better, And so we spent some time dreaming. And the thing about dreaming is we can put aside the logical mind of, how am I going to get this done? When is it going to happen? We put all that aside and we really just connect with our hearts. If anything was possible right now, what would I want to do? What would fill me up so much? What is a dream, a passion of mine? Just tuning in and setting those things we can't control aside. Tuning into your heart, the things that mean the most to you. What would your dream be if you could have a dream right now? forgetting about how it will happen or when.
This is all about the what is it? What's the dream? Not the how are you going to achieve it, but what is it?
Mm-hmm. And if you'd like to share, you can mute and share.
And if you need time to kind of let it marinate, see what starts to show up. A homework assignment for you, if you're really willing to take it, is to start writing down these thoughts as they appear. What is it that you want for yourself? Not what is expected of you, but what is your heart telling you? And it could be, I want time for myself to take a walk in nature every week. It could be that simple. It could be as big as, I want to open up, and this is a dream of mine, I want to open up a retreat space someplace in nature where I can bring people with breast cancer to come to heal. And Jillian, that is Costa Rica, by the way. We've been talking about Costa Rica. That's been a dream of mine. I'm not going to worry myself with, well, how am I going to make that happen? It's just, well, what is it? And why is that so important to me? So that's your assignment to take forward with you. And yeah, if there's any other questions or anything that you want to discuss before we close up for the day.
Let's just address Adrian. Adrian put a message in the chat, and I believe maybe Jillian can confirm this. Will there be a recording that will be shared so that Adrian can view the part that she missed? Great. Okay. So that was a yes there for you.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's move on.
So we're coming towards the end of our time together. You know, we talked about several different tools that you can use now to stop the panic, to locate where you are, and to really really connect with what's important in this moment, with what you can and cannot control and your dreams. So I guess I'm wondering if you have a takeaway.
Do you have a slide for this?
Yeah, I do. Yep. Actually, the slide is what's one word for this moment, but I'm wondering if
and
we
I would
want
love
to.
a takeaway too.
Yeah, we'd love a takeaway and a word if you'd like to share. So we can go around the group. I'm going to take the slide down because so that we can see each other again. All right, so what I'd like to do, and if you want to pass, that's fine, you can pass. But I'd like to give everybody an opportunity to speak if they'd like to. So Jillian, let's start with you. Do you have a word and a takeaway from today?
I'm not sure that I have one specific word, but the takeaway is the reminder of that it's really super important to love yourself and give yourself permission to serve yourself before others, because if you don't, I think that the panic can and will take over. And so in that space where you create boundaries and you get rid of the things that aren't serving you, you can create more space to really heal, to be present for anything that comes your way. That's my
Great, thank you.
All right, Amy.
What am I gonna take away? I don't know. I can't is something similar to what I've been using with my therapist. So that was just another reminder, because I think I do spend a lot of time on the I can't control things. And so I really enjoyed that, just like, you know, kind of throwing it away. So I did write it in my notebook, but I folded it so I can't see it. So I think that was just one thing that was impactful for me.
Amy, thank you for sharing that. I liked your gesture too, like, because I could see you maybe doing this later in the day if something comes up, like I cannot control that. Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a word for you in this moment that you'd like to share?
I don't know if I have a word. You know, when we did the PESH check-in, you know, I think my hope was a little low, and maybe it's risen up just a little bit. Yeah, I would just say that. So not a word, but
Okay, thank you. Anne, how about you?
Yeah, I like the can and cannot. And I don't know what word I feel like right now.
Okay.
I guess I feel maybe a little more hopeful. I don't.
Thank you. Angela Hayes.
So I think Jillian and Judy were talking about time being valuable. And I think 7 years ago when I was diagnosed and have gone through all of the stages, and I was feeling like, okay, I'm going to get through this. And then it's been like, and then what? And so I've been a realtor for a long time, and the environment is so toxic being a realtor. It really is. I mean, I go highs and lows, and then the market fails. And I really want to find something that brings me more joy and passion, because our time is valuable. And I really want to do something that is meaningful for me. And I have been on a journey. And so writing down, I'm really, really trying to look inward and figure out what it is that would really light me up to wake up in the morning. Because sometimes I find myself, when my kids leave to go to school, I just want to go back to bed because I'm just not feeling it, you know. And I don't want that for myself, because I don't want to sleep the day away, or like, because time is so valuable. What am I doing? So I think this is really helpful for me to I just need to self-reflect and really figure some things out. So I appreciate that. And I think the word is, like, still for my word is searching. Like, I'm just in such a really trying to figure things out for myself.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Diane, would you like to share?
Yeah, the last exercise was really captivating for me, the dreaming. And so, you know, my business, my work has been finding goals for myself, like getting to my son's graduation, getting to my daughter's wedding, and changing the word goal to dream could be huge for me. So I appreciate that. I'm going to marinate on that one.
Love that.
Nice. And Angela, the other Angela H.
I think I'll go back to my original word of blessed. I'm coming up on, I was diagnosed 10 years ago in April, stage 1. And similar to Laurel, I had an implant, but I think that roadmap, I tell people that month after the diagnosis was probably the worst. Like, I didn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I was just, what am I going to do? Exploring all the options. So I think that roadmap was a really, really good model, like, for people that are new to this journey. So I really think that that's good. And yeah, and all the other things, again, I've been cancer-free since my treatment, but I had to go through another implant because of some issues, like a couple of years into that. But I was very blessed with my journey, and the journey model, I think, for people that are new on this, it is really good.
Thank you. And Laurel.
I think I've changed my word a couple of times, but more hopeful is one, but, sort of boundaries and letting go. I'd almost say letting go is sort of how I'm feeling right now, with, the tossing the stuff the people you can't control, because I do sort of hold on to stuff and dwell on it and think about it. How could I have done it differently? So it's just sort of letting some of that go. And then marinate. I love that word.
Marinate.
That might be everyone's word today, Judy. Thank you, Laurel. All right, and Lise?
Yeah, I think for me, I really appreciate the sense of community. I think I kind of go in and out of thinking about myself and kind of my journey versus, you know, dealing with kids and work and all of that. So I appreciate having this time to kind of connect again, and I think the tools are wonderful. I did like the I can and I can't. I'm similar that I have a hard time letting go of things that I can't. And I think the word for me, you know, the boundaries and all that speaks a lot to me as well. I don't say no often, but I think being more intentional is the word that kind of popped in my mind, is not just saying yes, not going with what's expected, but to be intentional in my decisions and actions.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah. Leanne?
Yeah, I think my word is validate. And the reason I say that is listening really helped me identify and realize that I'm perhaps a ways into the transformation part of this journey and further along than I thought, and that feels relieving. I mean, I know it's an ongoing process and it won't end. But I'm 7 months into taking a complete leave from work. And if I look back to even where I was 12 months ago, it's amazing to me, the change that I've seen, the comfort with boundaries, the separating what I can and can't control. And so I just found this validating.
Wonderful.
Thank you. And Adrian, we'll check in with you. I know that you mentioned that you came in a little bit later. If you'd like to give a takeaway and a word for yourself now, you're welcome to. But it's okay if you can't or not ready to right now. And so, all right. So, Judy, I'm just going to put that last slide. I know we're at time. I'm just going to share one last slide with you. So Judy and I, and I'm assuming Karen as well, give discovery coaching sessions that are complimentary. If you ever would like to reach out to us, you're more than welcome to. If you have any questions about anything we talked about today, I'm putting our contact information in the chat for you. And Judy, did you want to share anything else?
No, I just want to thank you all for being here, allowing yourselves to take time for yourselves to be here. Hopefully we gave you some tools that you'll take forward. We are always here and available to speak with you about wherever you are on your journey, helping you to create that dream, helping you to find your allies, helping you if you're newly diagnosed and you're in that frenzy and swirl. We're available anytime. Please reach out. You have our email addresses, and Jillian can also help you to get started if that's something you need.
Yes, thank you so very much for being here and giving yourselves that time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. This has been wonderful. I really appreciate you sharing the space with us over the last hour and a half, and for everyone making the time to be here. So if you don't follow iRise Above Foundation, please do so. We have monthly webinars that are free to our community. And so, you know, if you join our mailing list or you check on our website, there's offerings such as this available every month. So check us out.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.